Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm going to give a quick introduction of you before we get started.
Okay.
For everyone joining, I've been on here a couple times before, but in case you haven't seen, my name's Macy, and I am here on behalf of La Melange. I have a comment at the top where you can find La Melange on Maker's Row, should you need to. But today we're joined by Sarah Shaw, and we are going to be talking about getting in touch with buyers, stores, and sales reps. So before we kind of dive in, I'm going to give an introduction of Sarah so that you guys can kind of get to know her and who we're going to be talking to. So Sarah Shaw is a fashion entrepreneur, product designer, and business coach. With her 20 years of experience and 6 companies under her belt, Sarah has built a treasure trove of secrets for launching your line, getting your products into stores and boutiques, getting your products to A-list celebrities, and getting massive publicity in order to, grow your line. So Sarah's products have been in over 1,200 stores and boutiques across the country, including Anthropologie, Nordstrom, Barney's, Henry Bindle, Fred Segal, Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Bloomingdale's. She's also appeared on the pages of almost every major fashion and lifestyle magazine. So that includes InStyle, People, US Weekly, Lucky, Elle, WWD, Marie Claire, and the O List. She's been on TV shows like Access Hollywood, Extra, and E! Network. Her handbags were in movies Legally Blonde, America's Sweetheart, and Ocean's 11. And she's been interviewed for Entrepreneur.com, Forbes.com, and American Express's Open Forums. So Sarah is the founder and CEO of Sarah Shaw Consulting, where she teaches product designers and fashion entrepreneurs like all of you how to launch, market, and sell their products into boutiques, get media placements, and gift celebrities. So welcome, Sarah.
Thanks so much for having me. This is so fun. I'm watching the names of people who are going by, and I see so many people that I know too. So
Oh, that's
thanks
great.
for joining, everyone.
Yeah, that's great. No, we're so excited to have you. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump in. I have a few questions for you. I'm going to keep the questions short to give you enough time to expand as much as you want to, because I know you're a
Great.
wealth of knowledge. So, so first question is, what do we need to have ready in order to sell wholesale?
Good. So what you really want to make sure that you have, first of all, settled is your pricing. So you want to really be sure that you are 100% sure on your raw materials cost and your labor cost, which together those equal your cost of goods sold, or COGS. Maybe you've heard people ask you,
Yeah.
what are your COGS? And like your accountant would ask you that. And so you really want to make sure that you've dialed all of that in, made sure that you know what that price is, because that's really what you're going to base all your pricing off of, so that you can make money. Because my biggest thing is everyone underprices everything or leaves
Yeah.
something out. Like let's say, for example, one quick thing you might forget is you're in California, but you order something from New York and you have it shipped to you, and it's 100 yards of fabric. Well,
Yeah.
you need to take into account the cost of that freight and average it into the cost of the yardage. So each yard would then maybe go up by 30 cents or 50 cents or whatever the shipping is per yard. And then when you're doing the yardage, whether it's for bags or clothing or home goods, or maybe you're getting findings for your jewelry line,
Yeah.
everything that has to be shipped to you or to the factory has to be accounted for. So you want to make sure that you're good on your pricing before you start to think about your catalogs. And that's really what you need to have for stores. Is people call it a catalog, a line sheet, a sell sheet,
Right.
presentation. It's all kind of the same thing. And what the stores really want to see is your wholesale pricing and your retail pricing. And they want to be sure that your retail pricing is the same as your website. So if you do have a website or an Etsy store, whichever way you're going, or you're selling on Instagram, you want to be sure that you're always asking stores to sell at the same price that you sure that everything coordinates, because stores don't want to be,
Right.
you know, fighting you for the better price, right? If you sell for more than a store, then that's fine, but you never want to sell for less. So you want to make sure you have your catalogs, that they have photos of your products, the name of the product, your a short description, a SKU, and then your wholesale and retail price for store buyers.
Okay. Okay, perfect. That's great. Yeah, especially about the COGS and factoring in those prices of freight, I think you're right. That's where a lot of people go wrong and don't initially know what all they're calculating. So I'm really glad you touched on that. Another question, and really this is the main other question I want to ask you and kind of expand on. So, how do you find stores to sell to? The biggest question that everyone, gets stuck on.
Sure, of course. Well, so there's a couple of ways to do it. So the first one is obviously look in your backyard, right? If
Right.
you live in a place where you feel that your customer lives, then that would be a good place. You may actually design something that is so not has it nothing to do with any store that's in the city or town or,
Mhm.
farmland or wherever you live, right? We
Right.
don't always live where our customer is. In fact, when I had my handbag line, I would say 90% of my sales were east of the Mississippi, and I lived in Los Angeles. So it was never, I just had to kind of resign myself to, I was kind of an East Coast girl.
Mhm.
Those were the people that really, bought a larger majority, or the stores, I should say, were
Okay.
more east of the Mississippi. So you can take a look at where you live. So that's the first sort of
Right.
that's the easiest way, right? Look in your own
Right.
backyard or surrounding areas. Secondly, you want to think about where your customer lives. So if you've been selling online and you have just decided to go wholesale, you could take a look at the cities or the states where people have been purchasing. So that could be another indicator of where the majority of your buyers live. And then the other way that I like to look at it is take a look at other brands that you think your customer buys. So if you've done like a customer profile, which you definitely want to do, get really clear about who she or he is, or who their children are, or
Right.
whatever product you're selling. If you think, for example, that they, I don't know, wear Splendid t-shirts or something, you could go look at the Splendid site and see if they have their store list on there. So that, or if you're a jewelry designer, maybe you want to look at Majori's website and see all the places that they sell, because those might be, you feel like you guys have the same customer. So
Yeah.
sometimes you can look at similar sites like Jewelry for Jewelry or T-shirts for T-shirts, but you want to think outside of that and look at and think about other brands that they might be buying as well. Maybe
Mhm.
they're, into a certain denim brand, or, eyeglasses even, or shoes, or whatever that you feel that your customer likes, or you find a store, you've done some Googling, for example, and you looked up, you sell a gift item and you've Googled gift shop San Francisco because you think your customer lives there. You'll get a list of gift stores in those particular cities. So that's another way. But then what you can do is start to look at those websites and say, oh, look, they carry these 40 other brands. I'm going to
Right.
look at those 40 brands websites and see if they have a store list,
Mhm.
because I think my products would look great in this store sitting next to that product, or that the people who buy that particular product also would buy yours. Then you can start to go down that rabbit hole. So there's several ways that you can find the stores and start to build your own, what I call your buyer black book, right? You can put all the websites. A really easy way to do it, here's a little back end tip. If
Yeah.
you just make a list of the websites that have the store lists, or you even find a store that that same brand, that the brands that they sell would be attractive to your buyer as well.
Mhm.
So it could be one of two ways. You can make a list of particular store websites, and then hire somebody on Fiverr to go look them up, get you the phone numbers, look at the info or the about us, and see if they can find, you know, the owner's name or something like that, and then the contact email, so you could start to build your own list that way.
That's a great idea. Yeah. That's a really good example of things you can source out. I love that. I also like what you said about how a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but some of the time, the store that you're looking for isn't even necessarily in your backyard. I think
Yeah.
that's really important to remember, you know, during this time when so many people are moving remote and moving to different places, but still maintaining their business in a certain part of the world. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good perspective to keep. Kind of
Yeah.
the
And I think you can, if you do have stores in your own backyard, or, you know, maybe within a 2-hour drive from where you live, that can be, and you can get an appointment with the buyer. It can be a great face-to-face and a good learning experience, you know, either to see what their objections are or their questions, you know, and you can be furiously writing it all down, or if you have a good memory, or maybe you can record the conversation on your phone. But it really gives you a lot of fuel for the next one, because when you're talking to buyers, you really want to be able to dispel any disbeliefs or address concerns that, you know, other buyers had before they actually even ask you about it. So you can, you know, even if your pitch is like, well, you know, a lot of people wonder about X, Y, and Z, but this is the reason I think it'll do really well in your store. You know,
yeah.
sometimes people are worried about price point, you know, but then if you can say, oh, you know, I get that sometimes, but people who buy XYZ brand often buy our brand as well, and the price point is very similar. So I don't think you're going to have a problem selling it because you already sell that brand. So, you know, you really have to do your own homework, and you kind of have to be the spokesperson for your brand and not so much rely on the buyer to come up with all the ways to sell it. You know, you really need to be the teacher and let them know the different ways that your product can be sold, and also, you know, what dispel those objections even sometimes before they ever ask them.
I like that. I like that kind of being on the offense of, you know, what questions they're going to ask and have those answers ready. I really like that. That kind of segues into my final question for you. And then I also have, I think we have some questions from the audience too that I'll read that are related. But really quickly before we move on, can you touch on how to calculate wholesale and retail price? Because I think a lot of people get kind of confused about that.
Yeah. So you want to take those COGS that we talked about at the beginning. So all of those costs, so that would be just your labor and the raw materials. And don't forget, in the raw materials would be any shipping charges or things that you incurred, you know, even if it was an Uber to drive something back and forth from your house to the factory or whatever. So once you have those actual costs, which is your labor and your raw materials, those are your cost of goods sold. You don't include overhead or, you know, your marketing or development of the product. That is just a separate expense that you can just deduct on your taxes. But so, because you want to have the actual cost, which is just the labor and the raw materials. So once you have your COGS, a good markup, right? If you can price it that way, because not everybody is making the product themselves. A lot of you guys, I'm sure, are using factories, right? From Makers Row or wherever, maybe you're making overseas, but you want to mark it up 2.5. So ideally, cost to wholesale is a 2.5 markup. And what that is that's covering your overhead. It's covering employees, it's covering salaries, it's covering marketing, trade shows maybe. And so if you can't make that 2.5 markup, maybe, you know, let's just say your product's a little too expensive and to make right now because you're only making 20 at a time or something. But if you made 100 of them, you would be able to get down to the actual cost that would work out at the 2.5. So as you could start at the 2.5, knowing that you're I mean, you can start a little lower, and then as time goes on, you can start to raise your prices. So maybe, you know, you might think, okay, well, maybe when I'm selling to 20 stores, I'll be able to order enough so that I can get that, you know, lower price, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, so then you can actually do that higher markup. And because from wholesale to retail, most stores are looking at a 2.4 these days because they also pay for shipping. So you have to remember, if it costs $1.25 to ship the product to them, you know, let's say it's a box of a dozen, but it ends up being $1.25 each, they're actually going to add that $1.25 into their actual cost from you. So if they're paying you $25, it's now going to be $26.25, right? If the shipping was $1.25. So that's already eating into their profit.
Right.
And so you want to keep in mind, you know, stores like Anthropologie, way higher margin. When I used to sell to them, they always asked for 20% off of wholesale. It's because they want to retail it at the same price as everybody else, but they're looking more like a 2.5, 2.6 markup.
Okay.
So, you know, it just depends. Obviously, you know, even bigger department stores might ask that. I mean, Anthropologie is a big chain, but if you're just going to a little boutique on the corner, you know, that's a cute store or gift shop, they're probably going to be happy with the 2.4 from wholesale to retail.
Okay.
So I would just aim for those numbers as best you can. I really find with clients of mine that who are going less than the 2.4 from wholesale to retail are having a harder time getting stores to say yes, because that margin isn't there for them. They have, you know, their rents have skyrocketed. Their employees, you know, they either, if they have employees, if they're lucky enough, right, they're paying them more money these days. You know, minimum wage is going up. So there's a lot of different factors that come into why they really need that 2.4.
Right. Right. So true. Okay, awesome. So that kind of makes sense. That's a good way to think about it. And I'm glad you touched on different types of retailers and kind of what that's going to look like. If you are good with it, I'm going to jump into some questions.
Great.
Who are on the line.
Yeah.
We have a lot of questions.
Okay, I love answering questions. I'll be quick. Yeah.
Okay. So the first one, I don't know that we'll get through all of them, but we will try our best. So what information should we include in the catalog that you mentioned?
So you want to have the name of the product, the SKU number or style number, however you want to call that. Okay. A short description, you know, black leather belt with silver buckle, you know, and then the price. So wholesale and retail. Pretty simple.
Okay. So pretty straightforward. I think that a lot of times some of these terms, and to myself included, a lot of these terms can get, when you hear catalog, you know, it can get almost a little bit more intimidating than it is. So it's good, like you said, to just keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, sometimes I think people think catalog and they think fancy, like, you know, some catalog that arrives at your house, right? Sundance catalog. And yes, we all would love to have something that fancy, but not everybody can afford a photo shoot with a model, right? For lifestyle shots. If you do have lifestyle shots, let's say you make t-shirts and you've got 4 pictures on the page and then a lifestyle shot on the right of somebody wearing it, you know, and styled, you know, maybe you think it looks best with jeans or a skirt, or if it's a mommy, or, you know, have them be pushing a baby stroller. So you give that instant image to people, because you want to keep in mind, people really it's like this, right? You got to get you know, it's like when people look at your website, you have literally like 3 or 4 seconds to attract them immediately. So you want to always look at your website on your phone. Is it, because, you know, most people are shopping on their phone. What does it look like? So you want to think quickly. In a way, you kind of have to twist your brain a little at your catalog. Like, what are they looking at? What's going to register? What should be highlighted? You know, all organic materials, or, you know, everything's made sustainably, and why, right? So maybe that's a header. You know, if there's specific things that you think will actually like sell it for you, right? You're only going after stores that are everything made in Atlanta, for example. If you live in Atlanta and you're like, "Ooh, I make here," you know, like go for that store, right? So it's whatever you think is going to catch people's attentions. Maybe you have 6 different line sheets. I have clients that have, you
Oh,
know, up to 6 or 7 different ones because maybe they make jewelry and home decor and, you
mhm.
know, wedding or something, right? So if you make wedding stuff that can be used for wedding, maybe you make a different wedding catalog. It might be the same
Yeah.
products, but it says wedding, and then you've got some brides in there and you're pitching that to wedding stores. You wouldn't pitch
Mhm.
the same thing to fashion boutiques.
Right. That's a really good idea. I like that a lot. Yeah, to your point, just taking the most, like you were saying, taking the most marketable,
Aspect.
aspects of
Mm-hmm.
your products
Yeah.
and highlighting those. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
way to put it. Okay. Awesome. So, another question, and this is definitely a very general question, so whatever part of it you want to speak on, but what are some ways that you see your clients or you help your clients stand out when speaking with purchasers and trying to get them to speak to your brands?
So we do email outreach for clients and let the
Okay.
client actually speak to the stores. I coach them and guide them on what to say. But I
Yep.
think in the email pitches that we do, it's really a way better idea to start pitching by email so that hopefully they've clicked on the link and they've seen your catalog before you cold call them, because it's really hard to say, oh, hi, you know, I make these glasses and they're slightly tortoise and the shape, you know, like they can't picture what you're talking about. So
Right.
you really want to try to get them to click on links in your emails. At least, you know, maybe you've had an email convo. They're like, oh yeah, I love your line. Might be interested in carrying it. Let's chat. And you're like, woo, great. So then, you know, you can set up a call or you could just try calling them. But you want to, like I was saying for the catalog, you want to think about what is it that makes your brand different than, you know, Lucy next door, right?
Mhm.
How is your t-shirt better? How is your pair of jeans better? Does it make your bottom look better, right? Does it fit exactly the way it should over certain kinds of shoes? You know, is
Right.
the rise better than other people's rise, right? So how are you talking about your product? Maybe it's the shape of your pockets makes your tushy look fabulous. You know, whatever it is, maybe you're making big girl clothes and there's not very much competition out there. So you've got, you know, some awesome model photos and you're, you know, showing how these girls are sporting your look. So it's really thinking about why the person wants to buy it, right? What does your customer love about you? And that, how do you relate that to stores?
Okay. Love that. Yeah, it's all about, I guess, getting creative with almost why you're making your products. Why do you do what you do? And then it's almost like sometimes the answer to that is what's your most marketable aspect. So I really
Yeah,
like
and the benefit, like how, you know, like if we're
that.
talking about these denim jeans, right? What's the benefit of yours versus, you know, the Gap or some, you know, fancy brand or Seven, or, you know,
Right.
why should someone buy yours over a brand that's tried and true that they've been carrying for 15 years? You know, what's special about yours? You know, and if you can afford it and you can say, I'm going to send you a pair to try. You don't like them,
Mhm.
send them back. If you love them, they're yours. And I would just love, you know, then obviously I would hope you'd place an order. But if you're 100% sure that your product or your jeans, for example, are going to change the way this person looks at their rear end, or that they're going to love the way it fits around their waist because they're older and they have a little muffin top or something, you know, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you want to just kind of get it out there, right? Like,
Mhm.
these jeans are perfect for, you know, middle-aged mom with a muffin top, you know. And
Right.
you know, if that's the thing that makes people want to buy your pants, then I think you have to kind of get that out there.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to ask you, I think this will probably be our last question, and then we'll just kind of close out from here. And again, this is pretty general. I think you could probably talk for a very long time on this, but just what you have seen to be the most successful. So this, this person who's attending asked, how can I get my product in the hands of a celebrity or influencer?
So It's actually not that hard. It's just most people don't do it. So influencers, like if you're thinking Instagram influencers,
Yeah.
really it's just contacting them through Instagram, or a lot of them actually have their email right on their Instagram description. So if you take a look, you can find a couple ways to get in touch with them, and then just let them know what you're looking for. If you're looking to make them an affiliate, or you're open to paying them. I would tend to suggest that you make them an affiliate and not shell out money. I haven't seen that many people do very well with paying up front. I think people who work for a percentage of sales are gonna push it, a lot more, because they're not sitting back and just like, oh yeah, I got my money. Oh, don't I look cute, right? So whereas with people who are working for it, I think you'll see more benefit. But with celebrities, there's actually a website called contactanyscelebrity.com, and you can go there and find any celebrity's contact information, and then just send them a pitch letter, and send it to one of their gatekeepers, and you can just say, hey, I saw so and so wears a lot of blue, and I make this blue shirt, and I really would love to get it to her, and here's our catalog, feel free to pick anything out, let me know if she's interested. It's really not rocket science, and you really want to make it more about the celebrity and why you're pitching them. Especially if you do like a mommy and me kind of thing, you'd want to look for celebs that obviously have the right gender and age child that goes with what you're doing. If you make handbags, then you want to make sure you see pictures of that celebrity wearing handbags out in the world. You want to Google photos of them, see what their style is, see if you can fit into their style look, right? Because most of them have wardrobe stylists. She may not be styling them every day, but she's probably purchased everything for them. So, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I never wear red. Oh yeah, I'm gonna take that red top of yours, right? So you want to kind of get to know the person before you start reaching out. And I have all kinds of blogs on that and stuff on my website, so you can go read all about that there too.
Yeah, okay, that's great to know. And then for affiliate, like you were saying, you would suggest affiliate versus just a flat rate, which is really great to know. Would you say that the percentage that you offer for affiliate is just going to change with the following of the influencer, or how do you typically come up?
Probably. I mean, I would think for 25% of retail that they would be pretty interested.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
Okay.
And you can also, you can even, if you have a celebrity that actually starts, that's like, oh, I love your stuff, I'd love to have this and that. And if they post a picture on Instagram, or if you send it to them, you can always say, hey, if you want to be our affiliate, we can either send you money, you could use this link, or anything we sell of these two products for the next 30 days. We can either donate it to your charity of choice, we can pay it out to you. Because if someone really loves what you're sending them, they may be interested in raising money for charity with a percentage, or, just getting more free clothes, who knows what they want. Celebrities are so used to everything for free that it's hard to get them to really pay for things if it's being offered.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I love the charity idea. That's another really good marketing idea that probably not everybody is doing. So I really like that.
Yeah. And just so many people aren't reaching out to celebrities, like the real celebs, not Instagram influencers, but just because they don't know how, or they're like thinking, why would that person want my stuff? But, if you take a look at Us Weekly, and they always have, who wore it best, and there's 4 or 5 celebrities in the same white dress, and it's like, ooh, I would not want to be in that. Well, they're looking for something different all the time, because they don't want to be out there in that column, right? Who wore it best. I mean, that's so embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be different and unique, and have their own style, and and also you just have to see who you relate to. Like if, Jennifer Garner, for example, she's on Instagram lives all the time. She's constantly filming herself. She's cooking in her kitchen, showing you all kinds of things about her own life, right? She does things from getting styled for the Academy Awards to doing a fitting for a movie to you know, showing you how she's making food to give to the frontline workers during the COVID lockdowns. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
she's cooking. I mean, you know, she's showing you who she is all the time. So I think following people like that and looking, I mean, there's some celebrities where you can tell someone else is posting on their Instagram and that there's never a picture of them doing anything. Those people, I'd be a little wary. Like if you're hoping you send them something and they're going to actually post it on Instagram, it's pretty chancy that they will, because if there's no photos of them in their real life, they're probably not going to post.
Yeah, that makes sense. Looking at people who are active already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And especially people who are genuinely, you know, showing what they love. And if
Yeah.
they genuinely love your clothing, it's all going to work together.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really great advice. And a really good point about celebrities looking for new designers and not wanting to get caught up in what everybody else is wearing. So
Yeah.
that's really encouraging, I'm sure, for a lot of the designers who joined.
I mean, we all want to be different, right? Like you don't want to go to a party and have somebody wearing that same shirt, right? I don't either.
Right, exactly.
Right? You know, you're like, oh, ooh, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Sarah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
For
so
joining.
welcome.
I'm going to have you really quick. If you have any closing thoughts, feel free to say those. And then also definitely, I have some people below asking for your website and where they can find you. So definitely mention that as well.
Yeah, I would love to talk to anybody who's interested in learning more. You can find me at sarahshawconsulting.com. I have a free Facebook group you can join. I offer a free consulting session if you want to book a call with me. It's all on my homepage. You know, follow me, I'll follow you back. I always do. And just make sure, like I was saying in the beginning, that you really want to make sure that you know what your costs are, because there's so many hidden little things. You know, just make a list of every last little thing, and if you picked it up or if it was shipped to you, or, you know, and if you're not sure how to price things, either ask your factory or ask me. You know, like when I had a handbag line, and I can tell you for the first 2 years, I was not pricing things correctly. I had no idea how to price it because it's all done in square footage, and I didn't understand, and I didn't know what the waste was, and you want to make sure you know what your waste is. So, you know, fabric usually has often a 20% waste, depending on if you know, if your markers go to the very edge, or if they're not because of a print. You know, printed things often have a bigger waste than solid. So you want to think, you know, like, is there a shrink, you know, are you shrinking everything? Are you, you know, what's the whole process? Is it getting, you know, stonewashed and lasered, and, you know, whatever's happening to it, you want to make sure that you notate every point along the way of production until it actually gets into the box. Like even your little poly bag, or the hanger, or your hang tag, or the label, or, you know, your little care tags if you're making clothes. So all those things, you know, sometimes we just sort of gloss over things and don't remember, oh God, I forgot that, and that's 18 cents. Well, if you forget 3 things that are 18 cents, you know, it's getting up there, right? When you're doing all your markups, and you're the only one who's losing, because if a store doesn't want to buy it for the price you're offering, for the margin that you're offering them, they're not losing out. They're just going to buy the next thing. So you want to really keep that in mind. It's really, like, I can't stress that that's like the basis of building a business, is making sure that you're making money.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, last thing. What is your free Facebook group?
Oh, my Facebook group. It's called Growth for Designers.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And on my homepage, my site too, I have you can sign up there, and there's some sample letters that you can send to celebrities. And if you get into that, it'll put you into an email sequence, sorry, but it'll show you some different ways that you can reach out to celebs. It'll turn you on to some of my blogs. So, and it'll probably invite you to join my Facebook group too.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect. So everyone can find everything in one place.
Yeah.
Well, just to wrap us up, like I said, I'm from La Melange, and For some reason, I'm not able to pin the comment like normal at the top. So I'll be sure to tag La Melange, but we are a development and production company in downtown LA. So if you guys have any questions for us as well, I'll tag our Instagram so that you can find us through that, or we're on Makers Row, obviously, as well.
They're awesome.
Well, thank you so much again, Sarah. This was such
Oh,
a great live. I think everybody
yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so psyched to be here with everyone. Thanks for joining. You can find me on Instagram too. So
Awesome.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.